Welcome back to another thrilling episode of the Underground Nation podcast with your host, with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie. Tonight, we're proud to introduce Down West, a Los Angeles-based trio blending indie folk and alternative rock with powerful storytelling and rich acoustic textures. Their music dives deep into love, loss, and pressing issues like climate change and inequality, proving independent music is alive and thriving. Turn it up. The underground is going west.
Ladies and gentlemen, creatures of the underground, welcome back to another episode of the Underground Nation podcast with your host with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie. Today, we got something special for your ears and your soul. Straight out of Los Angeles, California, they call themselves Down West, a band that blends indie folk, alternative rock, and socially conscious songwriting into music that hits you right in the chest. From stories of love and loss to tackling heavy themes like climate change, immigration, and inequality, this trio doesn't just make music, you feel it, you live it, and you walk away changed. With over 55 songs released since 2015, they're carving out their own lane with powerful harmonies, acoustic-driven grooves, and lyrics that speak truth to the human condition. So buckle up, Underground, because tonight we're diving deep with Down West. California music for humans, I heard. Is that right, Steve?
That's right. Thanks for that intro, man. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Well, after doing all this research on you and the band Down West, you boys are doing it. You deserve way more than that intro.
Thank you. Yeah, we got a new album coming out this month, too, actually.
No kidding. Talk about timing.
Yeah, we're psyched. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. I just learned that now.
Yeah, we've been releasing singles leading up to this summer, leading up to the release on September 17th. So
September 17th. Let me make a quick note on that so me and my team could participate.
The album's going to be called Cold Sun. And we have a song called Cold Sun. But we've released 3 singles off that album starting, I think, in July. Yeah, 4th of July was our first one. And
no kidding.
That was Break Down the Door, and then re-released Hollow about a month later. And then we just last week released our latest single, Little Big Men. So, yeah, we're psyched. And we're having an album release show in Pasadena on...
I love Pasadena.
Yeah. And there's a little place called... Old Town Pub, which is off an alley. It's kind of like hard to find if you don't know what's there, but it's a cool rock and roll bar, you know. And this will be our 3rd time playing there. But,
fantastic.
We're September 27th is we're having an album release party at that place. So it should be awesome.
Incredible. What was the name of the venue again?
Old Town Pub, it's called.
Old Town Pub.
If you know Pasadena, there's an area called Old Town Pasadena. And it's in that area. Anybody in LA will know.
And approximately what time does the party start?
Well, the doors open at 8, and we'll be taking the stage around 10:30, 11, something like that.
And you'd be playing nothing but music from the new album.
Most of the set, I think, is going to be from. We haven't finalized our set yet, to be honest, but
all right.
we have some other songs from other releases that people really like that we'll definitely be playing, but
absolutely,
but mostly from the album. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I had no idea you had a new album coming out.
Yeah.
Listen to this. The universe just brought us together at perfect time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was excited to be asked to get on because this album is. It's kind of a first really full length since we got our new bass player, and we have kind of a more harder rock sort of sound right now. So we're psyched to get this new music out there. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, you're kind of telling me about all the new stuff, but can you take us back to that moment in 2015, walking your dogs and discovering that spark of music together?
Yeah, my buddy Theo, who's the drummer, we actually met just walking our dogs in the neighborhood. And through talking, hanging out a little bit, I realized that he was a drummer and he hadn't been playing. He was in like some hair bands back in the 90s and hadn't really been playing. And I was like starting to do an acoustic solo thing because I back then even had a lot of songs I wanted to, start playing live.
Sure.
And I said, hey, man, do you want to come over and, walk down to my place? And, I said, I have a cajon, which If you know what that is, it's just a box that you sit on and play like a drum set almost.
Yeah.
So he came over, and I've never heard a cajon played that hard and loud before. I mean, it's just like he wailed that thing. And
Nice.
so we started going out as a duo at that point, and we did that for a long time and released a bunch of music together. And then, yeah, that's how it started.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he really helped. I've played in bands my whole adult life, and this back then was the first time I really started going out by myself. But I never really liked the acoustic thing, being in rock bands. I just felt like there wasn't enough there, to sort of push the music forward for me. So bringing Theo in and just having be such a hard player, it was just like, yeah, this feels like a rock band, even though it wasn't. And
absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, we'd play some, if you're an acoustic act, sometimes you'll get into, little folk coffee houses and those sort of situations. And we always came out playing like rock and roll songs, just two guys, acoustic guitar and a cajon. And, it'd make people kind of like, oh, I wasn't sure this is what I signed up for.
But I'm here for it. Woo!
Yeah. We got some good response. And we used to play a lot of like outdoor street festivals around here. We're in sort of northeast LA.
Okay.
And, so we're not really we're like 30 miles from the ocean. So it's,
wonderful.
We're more near Silver Lake, that area,
All right.
So there's lots of opportunities to play. And yeah, so we used to do some outdoor festival stuff, coffee houses and different things like that.
Incredible.
And really got things going that way.
Incredible. Do things feel a lot better now that you added a third with the bass player?
Yeah. I actually, was talking to Theo one day and said, hey, what would you think about playing a drum set again? And I wanted to break out the electric, and we brought in a bass player, not the one who's with us now, but and then we just started doing it. But when we started that idea with the bass player, we were actually still playing acoustic guitar and cajon, and we just brought a bass into that. And we actually did our first album called The Land of California with sort of that setup. I'm checking to see when that came out. Let's see. I like to have my Bandcamp site set up open so I can remember when everything came out. So in 2020, we put out The Land of California, which is a full-length album, and it's basically bass, acoustic guitar, and cajon, but played like a rock band, and that actually got, quite a bit of notice. And then, and then we were working on our second album, and then COVID hit. And so we got a lot of the tracks done, and then I ended up finishing it myself. And I put it out as two, one after the other. So it was called, this was first release was in 2022.
Incredible.
That was called Horror Vacuum Part 1. And then we did Part 2 right after that. But it was, COVID sort of stopped us in our tracks like it did everybody, And so I just did a lot of producing and writing on my own during that period. And so when that sort of cooled down, our bass player had kind of moved on. And so we pulled in Ron, who's our current bass player, and he's like a monster. I mean, he just turned everything into this big in-your-face thing. And it just really inspired me songwriting wise. So we immediately started working on new stuff, and we put out an EP of 5 songs with Ron the first time. And that was called Okay Fine. And we had kind of a hit with a song called Are You Mad, which is, related to everything that was going on around that time, which was, second Trump and all that stuff. So that pushed us forward to, okay, we're going to do an album now. And then that's this new album that's coming out. But we're excited because it's got a much more aggressive sound, which I'm pretty psyched about. So
definitely. It definitely sounds like you're excited to perform it too.
Yeah. And, I write all the time. And, a lot of the songs are, like you said in the intro, there's lots of political stuff, and there's personal stuff on there too. But, everything I'm thinking and feeling, depending what's going on, I put into the music. And
absolutely.
Absolutely. We're getting some good response so far on the singles. So we're stoked.
Yes, I've seen lots of great comments and reviews on your music. But I wanted to ask, what does the name Down West mean to you personally, and how does it reflect your sound?
Digging down west? They're not the only ones rising from the underground. The Underground Nation podcast is where raw talent, real stories, and powerful sounds collide. From emerging artists to underground legends, we bring you music news, events, interviews, and everything that keeps the culture alive. Don't miss out on the movement. Discover who's next, what's hot, and where it's happening. Join the revolution and tune in today at underground-nation.com.
You know, it really, I'm from the Midwest originally. I grew up in Central Illinois and chased a girl out here to California, and she wanted to study fashion. And so we came out here so she could go to school, and we're married now. But
Oh, so you chased a girl all the way to marriage.
yeah,
Well, congratulations.
yeah.
There,
So if it wasn't for her, I was playing in cover bands back there and kind of got bored with that. I had started writing already. And so I was ready for a change. I was actually interviewing for work in Chicago and everything. And we were dating, and she was like, hey, I think I want to move to LA. Do you want to go? And she invited me. I said, yeah, let's go. And we were both working at the same place, and we quit on the same day and came to LA. And I had never been here till the day I moved here, but I love it. And yeah, I can't imagine. I guess it could happen, but I can't imagine living anywhere else. Everything about it, the people, the art, music. I mean, there's the people from all over the world. I just love it. Yeah. So anyway, back to the name. It's basically my description of Southern California. I really wanted something that sort of reflected Southern California, LA. Both of the other guys in the band grew up in California. I didn't, but it's kind of a love note to Southern California, and just sort of a play on words, usually say down south or something like that. But I just love it here. And it's just really just a love note to LA, that name.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Your band has described y'all's music as California music for humans.
Yeah.
What does that phrase capture about your art?
Because it's really about, I feel like what I write about is how people live in the world, whether it's the way they have to live in the world or want to live in the world. And it's not, what I want to say, it's not overthought. It's not formulaic, really. I mean, the songs are very pop, you sort of get them,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
the words are very, personal, and they talk about real things. And, it's not, I think a lot of music sometimes, especially the pop, top of the charts, the not underground stuff is, it's written by an army of songwriters, a lot of it. And, this isn't that, every song is about a real thing that happened, or a real feeling, a real situation. It's all about the way people live and the way I live.
Yeah.
There's lots of personal stuff in there, and just lots of ways I feel about the world. And so that's the human part of it to me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
When creating songs that tackle issues like climate change or inequality, how do you balance message with melody?
Well, when I'm writing, it's usually me just messing around on the guitar, and finding something that clicks with me, whether it's, to me, it starts off with a melody it starts off with a melody, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure.
And, usually I'm not singing words. I'm making it's like sounds coming out, and then words sometimes come out of that. And then, once I start writing actual lyrics, it's usually I start and then it's done, and lots of times I'll look down and go, how did that get there? It's very, and if you talk to writers, you'll hear that a lot, where they don't really know where it comes from, but for me, what it's about follows the melody, I want it to be something that I remember, so usually lots of times I won't even record it on my phone for a long time, if I work on something and it sort of catches me, if I don't remember it the next day, it probably wasn't worth remembering. But so yeah, I sort of write that way. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but I want something that I'm going to remember And that sounds cool to me and sort of gets me going, And then usually the sounds that I'm making, vocally will turn into words. And I was like, oh, this is what this is about, And it's usually something that's going on with me or with, the world, things that are happening to people. So, yeah, that's kind of how it works for me.
With what you just said there, which track would you say in your catalog you feel most proud of and why?
And now, let's keep the energy flowing. Here's Downs West with the title track from their brand new album, Cold Sun.
When you run around, do you really have to? When you come around, are you really there to? When you hang around, what you want out of me? I really got to know. The way you work it, it's gotta be something. The way you act just like a politician. But is there really nothing inside? 'Cause all you think about's outside, and the world just seems to shining. Your cold sun on me seems to shining. Your cold sun on me. Got no enemy, do you have a real friend? When you lose me, what you gonna do then? Always jumping in, choose words so carefully. I really got to know the way you work it, you gotta want something. You're always standing in the right position. But is there really?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a mean question, dude. I don't want to say anything bad about any of my kids over here.
Yeah, I get it.
The one that there's one on the new album, actually. I'm going to say two, if you don't mind.
Sure.
There's one on the new album called Hollow, which we released a couple of weeks ago. And that's really about how you can't ask people, if you keep putting people down, you can't ask them to remain peaceful forever, and it's just not going to stay that way if things keep going the way they're going. And I'm sort of like, everything that's happening is sort of, I wrote that song a while ago, but I mean, it feels so right now. It's just that people don't know what to do, and they feel powerless, but at some point they're not going to feel so powerless. So I'm really proud of that one. But there's one also that I wrote a long time ago called You Set My World on Fire. And that was really about climate change and just how, we really take care of our kids and, schedule their time and make sure they're safe and everything like that. But we're really, in the meantime, we're setting their world on fire. And that one I can't remember when that came out, but that gets regular play all over the world on Apple Music. I noticed, you get a report.
Oh yeah. Read those analytics, baby.
How your music's doing. Yeah. On Apple and Spotify and all that. And that song's always up there. I mean, people are playing that all over the place, and it makes sense because, that's another thing that people are they don't know what to do about it, And what do you do about it as an individual? I don't know if there's much you really can do as a person. It's like it has to be a collective thing. But people get feeling hopeless, and feeling like, what can I do? And it's going to take some sort of collective action. I don't know what, but I'm really proud of that one because it seems like it's connecting with people, and I still love it. It's hard to play live because it's sort of low key, and I think, we play a lot of just bars and stuff like that. And, you don't want to necessarily hit that low ebb necessarily. If you're playing 45 minutes, we want to keep it sort of at that same level and just go like that, for a show. But yeah, I'm real proud of that one. And we do play it as a band, but I think hopefully things take off with this album and everything, and we start growing a little bit. We can play some longer shows and reach into the catalog a little more. But
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. How do you feel each member's influence and background shape the sound that we're hearing today?
Well, like I mentioned, Theo, the drummer, I played with for a long time. And he, when we first met, he used to tell me how big of a fan he was of John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. And I don't know if you know anything about him. He plays hard. I mean, he's just like, I'm surprised he didn't have to switch out drum kits every other night, and so even from the beginning, Theo added a lot of punch and drive to all the music, and I can write. I'm a drummer too, actually. I started out playing in bands as a drummer.
Very cool.
In fact, before we started this project, most of my experience in bands in LA was as a drummer. But I was writing for those bands back then too. And I was writing on the guitar, writing songs, but I wasn't. Right. I was just the drummer in the band. But so I Theo a lot because, he has his style and he's got a lot of finesse, but he hits hard too, And then Ron, I mentioned this before, he really brought something, I don't even know how to describe it. He plays left-handed and upside down. So his bass the low strings are at the bottom and the high strings are at the top. And he's playing left-handed. And I can look over at him. Sometimes if you're playing with a left-handed, if I'm a right-handed guitar player, look over at a left-handed player, because they're a mirror.
Right.
His bass is upside down. So I'm like, I don't know what he's playing, He's got kind of a funk style and a really like aggressive sound to his style. And I don't think he plays a song the exact same way twice. Right. But it really adds a lot of life and interest. He's got different tones. Just about every song sounds a little bit different from the bass tone. I mean, he really adds, it feels like he's added like 2 or 3 members to the band. I mean, just the way he plays. And
wow.
It's just something, cool. It's something else. And, this album really, that's what I was saying. It's like an elevated version of a lot of the stuff that we've done before. Just more aggressive, more kind of in your face, and a lot of bass driven grooves too, which we're stoked about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What kind of emotions or reflections do you hope your audience walks away with after a show?
Well, I think the first thing for me, even though we sing about a lot of things which I think are important to get out there,
yeah,
I hope they feel like, oh, I like that song, even if they don't even know what it was about, I want them to be doing this, I want them to remember hooks and that sort of thing. I mean, for me, that's the first thing, and then everything else, if you're into the music and it's touching you in that way, you'll get the message, but I want them to sort of, I like that song. Yeah, I like that song. Those guys really did something that I'm going to remember, and that's really what I want,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's almost like planting the seed for change.
Yeah.
Whether they realize it or not at that time.
It's not really calculated that way because I like to write songs that I want to listen to, I like to write stuff that, like I said, when I'm writing, I want to be able to remember it. And it's like, and I'm influenced by a lot of, rock and like old stuff, 90, stuff that was, like radio stuff,
Yeah.
That really influenced me, back in those days when everybody was listening to the same stuff, before the internet came along and, you didn't really, whatever was on the radio, that's what you were listening.
That's right.
And so I'm influenced by those, really song focused. So I want to remember, I want songs to sort of hit me, and so if a song doesn't do that while I'm writing it or working on the production, I'm just like, we'll come back to that one, but, I like to sort of have my songs and our songs be that kind of music, that people sort of get and, don't forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you're definitely doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Being based in Los Angeles, what unique What unique challenges have you faced standing out in such a competitive scene?
Man.
Looking for the real voices, the raw stories, and the underground culture they don't show you on the surface? Visit www.underground-nation.com and unlock the Underground Nation magazine digital archive. From exclusive interviews with rising artists and tattoo legends to full issues packed with underground music, ink, fashion, and rebellion, it's all there. New issues drop regularly. Every page, every voice, every movement. Tap into the culture at www.underground-nation.com. The underground isn't just music, it's a nation.
It's rough. I'll tell you, it's rough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's lots of, especially when you're on the level where you're just trying to get shows, and how many people can you bring? How many tickets can you sell?
Yeah.
Where they want you to buy the tickets ahead of time, and it's like, promoters have a hard job too. They have to fill venues.
Yeah.
But it can be discouraging, it's tough. And I think what we're starting to be able to do is, if you can connect with other bands and other acts and other artists, start to form a community, that's really helpful because you can pull each other in. The first time we played at this place we're playing at, Old Town Pub in Pasadena, the promoter said, "Hey, you guys, one of the bands pulled out,
Oh,
I said, "Oh, I know somebody," and somebody who had played with us at previous shows that we got to be friends with. And so, to me, doing things like that, bringing other bands in and they had never played there before. So that gave them a chance to, break into a new venue also. So I think community is really the thing that makes it fun and makes it worth doing and getting out there and playing. It's not just playing for the audience, it's playing with other artists and other bands. And, most of the time it'll be, they brought their fans, you brought your fans, cross-reference. Now we all have new fans, and
that's right.
Everybody hangs out to see everybody else play, and it's starting to build something, which I think that's the only way you can do it, especially in a city like LA,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Building a community based around Downs West.
Yeah. You got to do it collectively, or it's not going to happen,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You were kind of saying it earlier with your inspirations, like from the 90s and such.
Yeah.
But if you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I get rapped for this sometimes, but I'm a big REM fan, and they, a lot of people don't like REM, but I think their songwriting is some of the best to the 20th century. I just, so I think those guys, maybe not individually, but as a band, I think I would love to collaborate with. Who else? Nirvana, I love a lot. So that'd be another one. What else? I don't know. I think those two mainly. David Bowie, I like.
Oh, yeah.
He was like an artist, and didn't care what anybody thought of him, and just did David, and, I don't know. He was like a magician or something, I don't know. So, that would be another one too, but I don't know I think I'd be too shy and too like, nah, it's okay.
Too starstruck. David Bowie's in our studio, guy.
That'd be intimidating for sure.
Well, it'd definitely be a cool moment if it ever does happen.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah.
Never would happen.
There's more if I sat down and thought about it, but
absolutely. So then, what keeps you and I want to say the band, but let's focus on you. What keeps you motivated during the dry seasons when inspiration or gigs feel scarce?
I think I don't really get a dry season like that. I think because I'm not, a long time ago, and helped me start writing a lot, was to sort of not say anything I did wasn't good enough to myself. Like anything can be good,
Yeah. Sure.
And just because I think what happens, and I do go through this, and I know a lot of writers do, where you just like, you do something and you go, that's not that great, blah, blah, blah. But I think lately I do more, well, let's try it at least, and start working on it. I have some songs that are just on this album that I've had around for decades in some cases,
No kidding.
that just, I'd written, never been played live before. And I just like, oh, what about that one,
Yeah.
and like brought it into the band, and they're just like, yeah, let's do it, so I think I've sort of realized as time goes on that anything can be the thing if you're willing to work and turn it into something, so if I feel like I don't have anything, I just, like I said before, just sit down and start playing on the guitar, and just maybe something will come up, maybe it won't, but just let yourself play, and play even in the sense of not play, but just play,
Do you
play
feel
around.
Do you feel when you play around with the guitar, just making sounds and exploring ideas, do you feel that's a form of musical meditation for yourself?
For me, that is my meditation, I think.
Yeah.
I've done actual meditation before, but I have a very, I've always been kind of even as a little kid, sort of a loner and sort of in my own head a lot, and just, I grew up in a family of 5 kids and 2-bedroom house. And it was like, the only way to be by yourself is to just go in here, so I've always sort of done that. And so, like I said, sometimes I'll start writing, and then before I know what, it's done, and I don't know how it got there. And I think that's sort of, you go to that space, wherever that is, that sort of creative somewhere in your brain, and you're not out there and you're not totally in here, but something's happening. And everybody has that, I think. They just know have to find how to get to it. And
That's right.
And if you can, then you got something. You can make something. So
Absolutely. That's why I feel artists or musicians, they're destined to find their instrument, because that instrument helps them get to that place of where just everything around them stops, and they get lost in the music.
Yeah.
And before they know it, they come back to reality. They're just, whoa, I did that.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, bro, you've been sitting there for 2 hours, man, just playing the guitar.
And it could be just being a producer or something, just let that track, put it on a loop and start, before you know it, you got a song. It could be anything, and it can be art, I do graphic design too.
Oh, no kidding.
And it can be art. It can be drawing, I drew as a kid before I got into music. And I used to sit around, talk about being in a big family, I used to sit around and draw all the time, They were out playing sports, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm sitting around drawing. And then music came along, and we had a record player back then. I would just sit there and watch the record go around and around.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps when you're introverted, you can sort of like figure things out. You have a lot of time on your hands, you can figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to touch on more about your lyrics that touch on immigration and climate change and inequality. Do you feel it's a responsibility as artists to amplify these issues?
Up next, here's Down West with their powerful new single, Break Down the Door.
It's not the way that you want it to be. You can't make them listen to philosophy. Living for something that you'll never see. run to the store. Get what you can when you can't afford more. When your baby is crying all day, when your daddy is calling from so far away, wondering what all the living is for. Broke again, so you break down the door. Break down the door.
I think we as artists that are putting music out and things out into the world, all artists, any kind of art, need to start doing more. But for me, I just write about what I think about, and this is some of the stuff that I think about, worry about, concerned about, pissed off about, and so I don't feel I do it for a sense of responsibility. I do it because this is what I want to say today, and, it is a little, I don't want to say scary, but it's, what if somebody hears what I'm saying and doesn't like it, or something. But, I feel like this is all I can create is create what I create, and my lyrics come from what I'm thinking about. And so
absolutely.
I think this stuff is important, so I'm going to write about it,
Yes, and it is important. I wish I heard more substance like this.
Yeah, me too. Well, things are changing fast, so who knows?
Yes, they are. That is no lie, my friend.
Yeah.
Do you think musicians have the power to actually shift public perspective?
My first thought when you asked me that was no. I don't. But because I think, I don't know, people can be changed from the outside. I think they need to sort of change themselves. But it could. I mean, like what you were saying before, or what we were talking about, right. Playing a show and what do I want people to take away and that sort of thing. Maybe they will, I dig that song. So then they start listening to it and they go, but a lot of people are going to listen to that same song and go, this is, but so I think if it hits the right person, maybe at the right time, but I think it's, people are changed, I think mostly by themselves and by other people and being around, it's like I told you before, one of the things I love about LA, there's people from all over the world here.
All over. Right.
And, that's why people in LA didn't like the army being on our streets, is because, hey, I don't care what you think about our city, but this is our city and we like it just the way it is, and so that's because we live with each other, and we have for forever, I mean, this was Mexico before, it was America,
Yeah.
So, I guess, what I'm getting at is people in LA feel differently about things like immigration than maybe somebody in some other part of the country might feel because we live it every day. So could my songs, I mean, people in LA can identify with a lot of stuff that I write, but, will somebody in Montana, I don't know, but they maybe. So yeah, I guess the real answer is I don't know if musicians can really have the power or maybe music can. I don't know if individual musicians can. I don't know. I mean, music does change people.
Yes, it does.
Just on a raw emotional level. I believe that's true.
Absolutely.
So who knows?
It helps you bloom from the inside.
Yeah. And, people, they want to feel, they want to feel something. That's the whole thing too about, music for humans. It's, want you to feel something, and that's what being human is, feeling. So
Exactly.
We'll see. I don't know. I hope so.
Exactly. Well, I really hope this new album and the showcase coming up, you're really able to really help people bloom themselves.
Yeah, me too.
Music that you're providing them.
Yeah, me too. We're starting. We're going to try to, our management is trying to find us some, we're going to try to take off in October, maybe into November, do some more shows around Southern California. So.
All right, let's go management. Book.
Yeah, we're working on it.
So then how do you envision down west music aging over the next decade? Do you see yourselves as storytellers of the times?
I hope so. I mean, that's why I hope that the songs that we're putting out are something that, people can always sort of go back to. It's styles change and everything, and a lot of our style is old. I mean, we're not hip hop, we're not pop, even modern pop. Our stuff does sound a little vintage, I suppose, and we're on the older side personally, so I can see why people might say, well, you guys are already sort of back there. But I feel like the music and the songs are just hopefully memorable enough and talk about things that are universal enough.
Right.
They'll stick around, I hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Building that community around Down West.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask because you mentioned having management, and I know as an independent band, independent bands often struggle balancing passion and financial sustainability. How does the band manage the costs of recording, promoting, performing, management while still trying to build momentum?
It's just money. We don't make a lot of money playing in LA, and it's just, you have to decide, is this worth it for me to spend money on, and to us it is, if we want to really do this, it's worth it doing that versus maybe I don't need 3 more guitars, but maybe I have enough guitars, the point is, I think you decide, does this have value to me? And if it does, am I willing to, put something into it,
Yeah,
so for us it is, and everybody's different. And we always have to say, can we afford this? Is this worth it? Is that worth it? Like, we don't do pay to play, we don't buy tickets ahead of time. We just decided as a band, we're not going to do it right now. Who knows? But,
sure.
So you have to make choices. Absolutely. But you just said, we've just decided that this is something we're going to do. So
yeah.
Let's do it.
I always see the loose thread to that question of there not being an actual plan in place, meaning we have ideas for shows and putting music out and all these different things with marketing and like you said, with management now, but yet bands don't have an actual plan in place. So when things start going haywire or obstacles arise or they kind of hit that roadblock without a pivot plan, that's when they kind of get frustrated and end up quitting.
Right. That's true.
So I always try to highlight to bands, get that plan in place and highlight what the destination is and what are the potential roadblocks and obstacles that may be somewhat predictable that would occur and what to do when that moment happens, how to pivot. The plan itself is always going to adjust and change because life keeps lifing, but the destination and achievements that should never change.
The underground never sleeps, and neither does the movement. The brand new issue of Underground Nation magazine is here packed front to back with exclusive artist interviews, raw stories, and the culture you can't find anywhere else. If you live for the underground, the music, the grind, the lifestyle, this magazine is for you. Don't wait. Don't sleep on it. Support the movement and grab your copy today at ugnstore.com. That's ugnstore.com. Get plugged into the underground and order your copy today.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And sometimes can be, and I've known from being in a lot of bands, if you're in a band, you're dealing with individuals, and not everybody's in the same place in life necessarily, you're all into the music and you're all, yeah, we love this,
That's right.
But, individuals are individuals and, so that can be part of the challenge, I think, for a band, like you said, having actual plan figured out, everybody knows what the plan is, then they can decide whether they're in it or whether they want to be part of it or not,
That's right.
So
absolutely.
But yeah, that can be, it's always, whenever you're collaborating with people, there's always compromises and everything. But it's worth it, I think, in the end.
Absolutely.
And, I've done a lot of this by myself. I've done songs and put them out where I played everything.
Wow.
Not as good, I'm telling you. It's good. I like it, but it's better with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Probably a lot more fun too.
Yeah, a lot more fun.
We mentioned a couple of times in our conversation about building a community, and have, as Down West, maybe establish like a Patreon or somewhere where fans can subscribe and maybe get behind the scenes content.
We
and
have
all the
not.
stuff that's not accessible to the public.
No, we have not, but that's a really good idea. No, I have not. We have not. That's another thing too, is when I decided to find somebody to manage us, it was really out of frustration of doing everything myself. And, the other guys are helpful, but
Sure.
it's been mostly me, and which is fine. But hiring somebody, and we haven't been with it for a long time, but has been help to brainstorm ideas and to try new things. But that's when we haven't tried yet. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I always building a community is very important. And with the technology that's available to everyone, with all social medias and such,
Yeah.
it's very, very, I can't say simple, but it's definitely a task I feel every band should be doing, to build your own little community of your diehard supporters that are going to be there for you. Because in reality, if you had just 50 to 100 subscribers paying you 50 to $100 every month, that's going to get the band more than where you're going to need to go in with touring and getting merchandise and having that backing right from the fans, being the record label, if you will.
That's right.
Allowing them to decide, should we drop this piece of merch or this piece of merch?
Yeah.
Which one do you like?
Yeah. Let them tell you,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because, we're our own label right now, and most bands are, most people are doing it on their own. So.
Yes, they are. And that's why I said at the beginning of the podcast, we do our best to educate musicians and bands and entrepreneurs, because whether you know it or not, you are a business and your music is a product, and a lot of people don't know how to actually get behind the business side, and so they could really take advantage of the benefits that are surrounding them that they may or may not even know exist.
Yeah, that's right. It is. Yeah. And it's hard because, creative people are creative people, and me included. And, they don't really want to do the business side. But
that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff's creating.
No, that's right. So, everybody should know anybody who's doing anything creative, everybody else feels the same way. So, but
Absolutely.
If you want to move forward, you have to push, and you have to treat it more like a job, and which, who wants a job, but it is.
Well, you definitely get out of it what you put into it. That is true.
That's right.
Well, with the person you are today, Steve, if you were able to go back to the young Steve who has said, "Man, I'm just gonna make music for the rest of my life. This is my career choice."
Yeah.
What advice would you give that young man today?
I think, let me think of a second. I wish I was doing back then what I'm doing now. But the problem is, when I was younger, there was no social media, all that,
No, there wasn't.
So the younger Steve would be like, what are you doing? Instagram?
You got what?
But I mean,
You got TikTok.
there's lots that we can do that when I was younger, there was none of that,
Yeah.
So, but I think, back then, I think I would have been more 100% original sooner. Like I said, I played in cover bands for a long, long time. And in Illinois, when I was growing up, there were bands that were doing original music that were doing well, but I just didn't know how to do that. And my buddies that I was playing with wanted to do that necessarily. I was one of the few that was actually writing songs, but I was a drummer in a cover band, so, but I think I would tell myself, do your original music now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, Steve. Right.
Right. And get with some other people who want to do original stuff, I think I would say that. I would,
Almost like get out of your own way there, Steve.
Yeah. I know. And it was a lot of fun. And the thing about playing covers is you learn a lot. You learn how to write. You learn how great writers write. And so you'll learn a lot from that. So playing covers is great. But how long, maybe not for years and years and years,
Sure.
And you can still play covers, but we have a cover on our album of an old Howard Jones song, which is like an 80s new wave techno song that we just play with a guitar, bass, and drums and rock.
Oh, wow. Check this out.
It's called No One Is to Blame, and it's a Howard Jones cover. It's on the album. It'll be out when that comes out.
September 17th.
Yeah, you remembered.
September 17th, a new band from Down West coming out all major platforms. What was it called again?
The album's called Cold Sun.
Cold Sun. Could you imagine a cold sun? We would all just we would all just stop living. Everything would stop growing.
I know. But that song's more about people who smile at you on the outside, but they're not really smiling.
Oh, no, not the snakes in the grass.
Yeah, you got it.
I know all about those people.
Okay.
Especially in the industry. They're everywhere.
Yeah, you just have to be grounded, get around all that.
I got a deal that you can't refuse. Oh, man. Well, Steve, any shout-outs or thank yous you want to give out to the world? It's your time to shine, my man.
Well, thank you to Ron and Theo, my bandmates.
Yeah, whoop, whoop, Ron and Theo.
Yeah, made it all happen. And if you're in LA, come see us at Old Town Pub on September 27th, Saturday night. And come check us out. We'd love to see everybody.
Yeah, record release party. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
New music.
We'll have CDs you can pick up.
Oh, dang.
T-shirts, everything.
I love a classic CD that I could take home and unpack.
People like them at shows, you know.
We do. They're making a comeback, in my opinion. Also, I've been digging artists selling their music on the USB, making those custom USB things.
We have a USB called the Everything, which has everything we've ever put out on it, and you can pick that up for I don't remember how much it costs, but it's just a little USB, and it's the Everything drive, everything on it.
The Down West everything.
Yeah. You can get that on our merch page, actually, too, if you want.
Where's the merch page?
On our website, merch. Also, if you're on Bandcamp, our Bandcamp page has it, too.
There we go. So go ahead and start liking, following, and subscribing to Downs West.
Oh, love it. We're also on all the socials, Down West Band, at Down West Band.
On all socials, same handle name.
Yeah.
Down West Band. There we go.
Mainly Instagram and Facebook, I guess, is the main ones.
Okay, well, fantastic. Go like, follow, subscribe. Down West Band. Let them know that you heard the interview here on the Underground Nation. And who knows, you may get a follow back.
Yeah, we follow back everybody.
That hooked you up. Didn't even know.
All right.
Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining the Underground Nation. Down West is definitely a band to check out, bringing California music for humans straight to your soul. You heard their journey, the struggles, the triumphs, and their vision for the future. Now it's your turn. Go support this band, stream their music, share their message, and make some noise for them online. Again, follow at Down West Band across all platforms. And as always, stay locked in with us here at the Underground Nation. Visit www.underground-nation.com. That's underground-nation.com for more interviews, stories, and music from the heart of the underground. I'm your host with the ghost, Bounce Ball Boogie, reminding you, stay true, stay underground, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Ryan.
That's a wrap on today's episode featuring Down West. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to Down West today. And for more music, stories, and everything from the underground scene, head on over to underground-nation.com. Stay tuned, because the underground never sleeps.